Good afternoon, students. Today we will start the introduction to operating system. Okay. Anyone knows the what is operating system? Yes. Bipin sir, Shailesh Kharat. Are you know about operating system? Okay. So see here, an operating system acts as an interface connecting a computer user with the hardware of the computer, or an operating system falls under the category of systems software that performs all of the fundamental tasks like file management, memory handling, process management, handling the input or output, and governing and managing the peripheral devices like disk drivers, networking hardware, printers, etc. Okay, so an operating system is system software that manages computer hardware, software resources, and provides common services for the computer programs. So the history of operating system is inextricably linked with the history and development of various generations of computer system. In this chapter, we will trace the history of the operating system by delineating the chronological development of the hardware generations. So, first generation is the zero generation, that is mechanical parts. So, the first digital computer was designed by Charles Babbage in 1732 to 1871, an English mathematician. This machine had a mechanical design where wheels, gears, cogs, and so on were used. As this computer was slow and unreliable, this design could not really become very popular. There was no question of any operating system of any kind for this the machine. Then first generation. What is the first generation? First generation in 1945 to 1955 मध्ये झाली. फर्स्ट जनरेशन जी आली ती कोणती होती? व्हॅक्यूम ट्यूब्स. ओके. So several decades later, a solution evolved which was electronic rather than the mechanical. This solution emerged out of the concerted research carried out as part of the war effort during the Second World War. Around 1945, Howard Aiken at Harvard, John von Neumann at the Princeton, J. Eckert, and William Mochila at the University of Pennsylvania, and K. Zuse in German succeeded in what? Designing calculating machines with the vacuum tubes as the central components. म्हणजे या लोकांनी काय केलं की एक नवीन डिझाईन केलं की जे मशीन सारखं आहे आणि त्याला आपण काय म्हणणार आहे? व्हॅक्यूम ट्यूब्स. Machines with vacuum tubes. These machines were huge and their continued use generated a great deal of heat. The vacuum tubes also used to get burnt very fast. That is, during one computer run, as many as 10,000 to 20,000 tubes could be wasted. The programming was done only in machine language, which could be termed the first generation language. There was no assembly language nor any higher language. So next is the second generation in 1955 to 1965. That is what? Transistor. Which operating system called transistor? Around 1955, transistors were introduced in the USA at at&T. The problems associated with vacuum tubes vanished overnight. The size and the cost of the machine dramatically dwindled. The reliability improved. For the first time, new categories of professionals called system analysts, designers, programmers, and operators came into being as distinct entities. Assembly language as a second generation language and Fortran as one high level language, that is third generation language, emerged, and the programmer's job was extremely simplified. However, these were patch system, that is IBM 1401 belonged to that era. There was no question of having multiple terminals attached to the machine carrying out different enquiries. The operator was continuously busy loading or unloading cards and tapes before and after the job. At a time, only one job could run. At the end of one job, the operator had dismount the tape, take out of the one card, that is tear down operation, load the decks of the card and mount the tape for the new job, that is setup operation. This entailed the usage of a lot of the computer time. The valuable CPU time was therefore wasted. This was the case when IBM 1401 was in use. An improvement came when IBM 7094 is a faster and larger computer was used in a conjunction with IBM 1401, which then was used as a satellite computer. The scheme used to the work. So next third generation is in 1965 to 1980, that is integrated circuit. IBM announced System 360 series of computers in 1964. Then IBM had designed various computers in this series which were mutually compatible so that the conversion efforts for programs from one machine to the another machine in the same family were minimal. This is how the concept of family of computers came into the being. That is IBM 370, 43XX and 30XX systems belong to the same family of computers. Then IBM faced the problem of converting the existing 1401 users to system 360, and there were many. IBM provided the customers with utilities such as simulators, that is totally software driven and therefore a little slow, and emulators using hardware modification to enhance the speed at extra cost. To enable the old 1401 basis software to run on the IBM 360 family of the computer. Initially, IBM had plans for the delivering only one operating system for all the computers in the family. However, this approach proved to be practically difficult and cumbersome. The operating system for the large computer in the family meant to manage larger resources was found to the create far more burden and the overheads if used on the smaller computers. Again, the operating system that could run efficiently on a smaller computer would not manage the resources for a large computer effectively. At least IBM through. So at that time, therefore, IBM was forced to deliver four operating systems within the same range of computer. These were CP67, CMS for the powerful 360 67 using virtual storage. Then second is the OS MVT for the bigger 360 system. OS MFT for the medium 360 system, and DOS 360 for the small 360 system. So the major advantage, features and problems of this computer family. So first is the integrated circuit. The System 360 was based on integrated circuits, that is ICs, rather than transistor. With ICs, the cost and the size of the computer shrank substantially, and yet the performance improved. Then second is portability. The operating system for the System 360 were written in assembly language. The routines were therefore complex and time-consuming to write, and maintain. Many bugs persisted for a long time. As these were written for a specific machine and the assembly language of that machine, they were tied to the hardware. They were not easily portable to machine with a different architecture not belonging to the same family. Then third is the job control language. Despite these problems, the user found them acceptable because the operator intervention decreased. A job control language, that is JCL, was developed to allow communication between the user or programmer and the computer, its operating system, by using the JCL. A user or programmer could instruct the computer and its operating system to perform a certain task in a specific sequence for creating a file, running a job, or sorting a file. Third one is the multi-programming. The operating system supported mainly batch programs, but it made multi-programming very popularly. This was a major contribution. The physical memory was divided into many partitions, each holding a separate program. One of these partitions was holding the operating system as shown in figure. See the figure? Operating system, program 1, program 2, program 3. So, however, because there was only one CPU at a time, only one program could not be executed. Therefore, there was a need for a mechanism to switch the CPU from one program to the next program. This is exactly what the operating system provided. One of the major advantages of this scheme was the increase in throughput. If the same three programs shown in figure were to run one after another, the total elapsed time would have been much more than under a scheme which used multi-programming. The reason was simple. In a uniprogramming environment, the CPU was idle when any input output for any program was going on the process. But in multi-programming operating system, when the input output for the program was going on, the CPU was switched and the another program. This allowed for the overlapped operations, that is IO, for the one program and the other processing for the some other program by the CPU, thereby increasing the throughput. Next is the spooling. Spooling means the concept of simultaneously peripheral operations online, that is spooling, was fully developed during this period. This was the outgrowth of the same principle that was used in the scheme discussed earlier and the depicted. The only advantages of spooling was the you no longer had to carry tapes to the flow of the 1401 and 7049 machines. Under the new operating system, all jobs in the form of cards could be the read into the disk first and later on. The operating system would load as many jobs in the memory one after another until the available program or memory could accommodate them. After many programs were loaded in different partitions of the memory, the CPU was switched from the one program to another to achieve multi-programming. We will later see different policies used to achieve this switching. Then similarly, where any program printed something, it was not written directly on the printer, but the print image of the report was written into the disk in the area reserved for spooling. Then next is the time sharing. The System 360 with its operating system enhanced multi-programming, but the OS, that is operating system, were not geared to meet the requirements of interactive users. They were not very suitable for the query system. The reason was simple. The interactive system, the operating system needs to recognize a terminal as an input medium. In addition, the operating system has to give priority to the interactive process over batch process. For instance, if you fire a query on the terminal, what is the flight time of flight SQ 0 to 4 and The passenger had to be survived within a brief time interval. The operating system must give higher priority to this process than, say, for a payroll program running in the batch mode. The classical multi-programming batch operating systems did not provide for these kinds of scheduling of various processes. A change was needed. IBM responded by giving its users a program called Customer Information Control, that is CICS, which essentially provided, that is data communication, that is DC, facility between the terminal and the computer. It also scheduled various interactive users job on top of the operating system. Therefore, CICS, that is Customer Information Control System, functioned not only a transaction processing monitor but also took over some functions of the operating system, such as scheduling. IBM also provided the users with the timeshare option, that is TSO software, later to the deal with the situation. Many other vendors came up with timeshare operating system during the same period. For instances, DEC came up with TOPS 10 on the DEC 10 machines. Then one of the first time sharing system was compatible time sharing system, that is CTSS, developed at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, that is MIT. It was used on the IBM 7094 and it supported a large number of interactive users. Time sharing becomes popular at once. Multiplexed information and computing service was the next one to the follow. It was a joint effort of MIT, Bell Labs, and General Electric. The aim was to create a computer utility which could support hundreds of simultaneous time sharing users. Then fourth generation, that is 1980s to 1990, that is large scale integration. When large scale integration, that is LSI circuit, came into the existence, thousands of transistors could be the packaged on a very small area of a silicon chip. A computer is made up of many units such as a CPU, memory, I/O devices, interfaces, and so on. Each of these is further made up of different modules such as registers, adders, multiplexer, decoders, and variety of the digital circuit. Control program for microcomputers, that is CPM, was almost of the first OS on the microcomputers platform. It was developed on Intel 8080 in 1974 as a file system by Gray Kindle. Intel Corporation had decided to use PLM instead of the assembly language for the development of system software and needed a compiler for it badly. Obviously, the compiler needed some support from the some kind of utility, that is operating system, to perform all the file related operations. Therefore, CPM was born as a very simple single user operating system. It was initially a file system to support a resident PLM compiler. This was done at Digital Research, that is DRI. After the commercial license of CPM in 1975, other utilities such as editors, debuggers, etc. were developed and CPM became very popular. CPM went through a number of versions. Finally, a 16-bit multi-user time-sharing MPM was designed with real-time capabilities and a genuine competitions with the minicomputer started in 1980. CPNet was released to provided networking capabilities with MPM as the server to serve the request received from the other CPM machines. One of the reasons of the popularity of CPM was its user friendliness. This had a lot of impact on all the subsequently operating systems on microcomputers. After the advent of the IBM PC based on Intel 8086 and its subsequent models, the disk operating system, that is DOS, was written. IBM owned PC-DOS and MS-DOS by Microsoft are close cousins with were similar features. The development of PC-DOS again was related to CPM, a company called Settle Computer developed an operating system called QDOS for Intel 8086. The main goal was to enable the program developed under CPM on Intel 8080 to run the Intel 8086 without any change. Intel 8086 was upward compatible to Intel 8080. QDOS, however, had to be faster than CPM in disk operation. Microsoft Corporation was quick to realize the potential of this product given the projected popularity of Intel 8086. It acquired the rights for QDOS, which later becomes MS-DOS. Then MS-DOS is a single user-friendly operating system. In quickly succession, a number of other products such as database system, that is DBase, word processing, spreadsheets, and many other were developed under MS-DOS. And the popularity of MS-DOS increased tremendously. The subsequently development of the compilers for various high-level languages such as BASIC, COBOL, and C added to this popularity and in fact opened the gates to the more serious software development process. This was to play an important role after the advent of local area networks, that is LANs. MS-DOS lattice was influenced by Unix and it has been evolved towards Unix over the years. Many features such as hierarchical file system have been introduced in MS-DOS over a period of time. With the advent of 386 and 486 computer bit mapped graphical display became faster and therefore more realistic. Therefore, graphical user interface, that is GUIs, become possible and in fact necessary for every application. With the advent of GUIs, some kind of standardization was necessary to reduce development and training time. Microsoft again reacted by producing MS Windows, and MS Windows is actually not an operating system. Internally, it still uses MS-DOS to execute various system calls. On the top of DOS, however, MS Windows enables a very user-friendly graphical user interface, that is as against the earlier NeXT-based one, and also allowing the Windows capabilities. Then with the era of smaller but powerful computers, that is distributed processing, started becomes a reality. Instead of a centralized large computer, the trend towards having a numbers of smaller systems at different works site but connected through a network become stronger. There were two responses to this development. One was Network Operating System, that is NOS, and next is the Distributed Operating System, that is DOS. There is a fundamental difference between the two. In network, they also know that there are various database. In network operating system, the users are aware that there are several computers connected to each other via network. They also know that there are various database and the file on the one or more disk and also a address where they reside. But they want to share the data of those disks. Similarly, there is one or more printers shared by various users logged on to different computers. Novell's NUVAR 286 and the subsequently NUVAR 386 operating system falls in this category. In this case, if a user wants to access database on the some other computer, he has to explicit state its address. Then the distributed operating system, on the other hand, represented a leap forward. It makes the whole network transparent to the users. The database files, printers, and the other resources are shared almost a number of users actually working on different machines, but who are not necessarily aware of such sharing. Distributed system appears to be simple, but they actually are not. Quite often, distributed systems allows parallelism, that is, they find out whether a program can be segmented into different tasks which can then be simultaneously on different machines. On the top of it, the operating systems must hide the hardware differences which exist in different computers connected to the each other. The next is the batch system. Batch system means in a batch system, user enters input on punched cards. The input collected is then read onto a magnetic tape using a computer such as IBM 1401. These computers were good in performing tasks like reading cards or copying tapes and printing outputs. In batch system, user does not interact with the computer directly. The user submitted the job on the operator and such as operator collects job from various users. Thus, the operator prepares a batch of jobs. Programmers also leaves their programs with operator. The batch of similar jobs or similar programs would be processed when computer time is available. After execution of job, a program is completed, output would be sent to the appropriate programmer. In batch system execution, CPU utilization is not proper and CPU is often ideal because most of the computing jobs involve input-output operations. In early days, for input-output operation, a lots of mechanical actions was required and mechanical movements are much slower than the electronic devices. Then real-time system. In real-time system are used when a time is critical factor. There are creation systems in world where there is rigid requirement time. Execution of task must be finished in a specific time period for the entire system execution. Otherwise, the whole system will fail. Unlike batch system, input to real-time systems comes directly and immediately from the user systems. And real-time systems are capable of analyzing the processing data. In real-time system, time is critical factor and the such systems are well defined to execute within certain time period, whereas batch systems are not time dependent. There are two types of real-time system. First is the hard real-time system and second is the soft real-time system. In hard real-time system, these types of systems guarantee the execution of critical systems on time. These systems are very restrictive in the term of time constraint. These operations always have high priority over over other tasks. Then second is the soft real time system. In this system, these are less restrictive in terms of the time constraint, where a critical real-time task gets priority over the other task, and when high priority tasks are finished, these operations would start execution once again. So this is the era of operating system. Thank you.